What's going on today, everybody? I hope that you're having a fantastic day. I know I am, now that we're back working on this thing. So last night I spent about 6 hours trying to get all that foam out. I'm not gonna lie, it was not fun, but we got it out. Now day 2, we're on to fixing stuff. So I've already drilled out the rivets, just a simple drill bit. It really doesn't matter, just make sure it's bigger than the hole. Drill it out, the top will pop off, and then punch the piece through. And then I got really excited because the resin showed up, and I started doing some fiberglass and went, well, I should probably tell you guys. So I've already gone ahead and done, somebody put some sponsons on the side of this, and they didn't seal it very well. And so we have to fix it. Might as well fix it from the inside while we can and get that hole filled up. So I've got a little bit of little holes to fill, but just gone ahead, put some fiberglass, some matting over it, and then I've also gone ahead and put the exhaust hole. I'm filling in the exhaust hole because now we have to move our exhaust lower in the bay to make sure that it all fits. It's gonna be awesome. So resin is currently curing. Next, I'm gonna throw some sealant on it because I don't like a couple of things that's going on with the ski. There's some sealant that's cracked, broken. There's lots of leaks with the foam. It kind of tells you where all the leaks were, and it's pretty much every fitting was leaking. So everything connecting through that footwell was leaking. There's lots and lots around the drive shaft, so I really got to spend my time doing that. I have just a little bit of cleanup that I didn't quite get done last night, but everything's cleaned up aside from that. And all the foam's out, so let's get to this. Let's do some more fiberglassing and getting some of this ski done. So on the bottom here, I had 3 holes, 1, 2, 3 on each side where someone had some sponsons, and that hole just made it so water was going in it. Not ideal. There's also 2 holes right here on the bottom that are not perfect, but we got them done. So I've gone ahead, and you can barely tell, but I put fiberglass down, put a chunk of felt in between it just because I had some felt, and I figured that would be a better stop. I didn't have any chop mat, which probably would have been best. I have just my bilateral weave here. It's just woven side to side. The chop mat probably would have done a little bit better. But that felt will definitely stop any leaks coming in, and then we'll go ahead and put epoxy on the outside so we can fill this hole in and then re-glass or gel coat all that. So that's something that needs to get done. I probably should address this giant crack that I've got in here and fix that while I've got it out. So that is probably something that needs to get fiberglassed. And while I'm in here, I'm going to refill this whole hole up right here along the outside with caulking, and then attach the two with some fiberglass. So that'll kind of attach the 2 pieces, keep them nice and sturdy, get silicone in all these holes that I can, and start filling this thing up, getting it ready to go. You can see I've got all of it. If I was going to do this again, I would cut this shelf back a little bit further. That little bit gives you a ton of room for this side. This side is really hard to get into, and once you get up there, it's hard to pry that foam out. And the wet foam likes to come out. The wet foam does not like to come out. The dry foam will come out semi-easy. So one thing that I learned with this foam is you can kind of tell this is really, really dark right here, and this was right up against the pipe. So this was one of the either one of the water jacket aluminum 1/2-inch pipes that was against the pipe, and the foam, like this part, is pretty good. It's got a little bit of water in it still. But when I get these pieces off, they're just saturated with water. And these two pieces were right next to each other. So that was right next to it, and it's pretty dry. But this piece is so wet and so dense, and that's one chunk. I've got a whole garbage bag full of wet foam. It's crazy how much water this whole thing just holds. I mean, you can literally watch it just drip. It's crazy. So, a little bodywork tip. I've got epoxy here. I've got fiberglass on the back side of this, or something holding that hole open. But if I go ahead and put some epoxy in it, it wants to ooze. It just naturally wants to ooze before it gets hard. And then all of a sudden it gets super hard. So what we'll do is we'll take a little bit of epoxy on a Q-tip, push it in there, make sure to get that air bubble pop, because it'll make an air bubble. Once you're certain you got it popped, do just a little bit around the outside, and then take a piece of blue tape and tape over it. And that will keep all that epoxy in that area, and then you can be sure that it's going to set up, and then it's not going to go anywhere because the tape's going to hold it in place. This only works if you're sanding it down, because this tape will now become part of the ski and you won't be able to get it back out. So let that be a little bit of a tip for you guys. While we're waiting for this stuff to dry, I went ahead and polished up the exhaust, and with that we have to drill a new hole through the bulkhead. So I've got a 2 1/8 bit for the super jet for the square nose, and I'm going to put it about 3 inches lower than what the existing hole, center of hole was. So I kind of want to tease that a little more this way. We have room for a clamp, but we can't go too close because that's where the motor mounts and everything are. So it's a fine line of where is it going to fit. So the 2 1/8 is very, very tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the pilot bit through and then take it out and check on the other side and make sure that that's going to work. Pilot bit's through. We'll check. I'd say that's going to work. So, for you guys at home, so that mark right there, center of existing hole, and we've gone down 3.5 inches, and from the side of the hole we are 1 3/4. 1 3/4, 2 should work, but we've got pilot bit through, we've checked. Now let's go ahead and cut this thing out. So here we go. Let's go ahead and test this out. We've got, plenty of room. I probably could have went maybe more on the 2-inch side. We'll push that through. We'll find our new angle. See where it kind of wants to hang out at. So now that's through the bulkhead. We'll have to silicone that up to make sure that it doesn't leak. Clean up our powder. I think we're doing good here. Now with the new angle of the pipe, now the pipe used to be going up pretty good, now it's flat. These holes are not going to work. So if I put it on the OEM holes, I've got a pretty big gap underneath here. So there you can see that gap. That's where the holes were. So if we rotate this clockwise, it kind of gets to a spot where about 90% of it is straight. So there's only a small gap right here, which is pretty livable. Might have to tap that in a little bit, but this will be filled with silicone. There we go. Rotate it. That's new hole area. We've got to fill in these holes. Forgot about that, but let's go ahead, fill those holes in and get these holes drilled. Okay, so I've got the exhaust where I want it, and I just taken a rubber mallet and just gently tapped on it, and it is way better. It's like barely even a washer thick. Was that an 1/8 or 1/16? All the way around. The top's the only one that's not the best, but I can live with it like that. Now we'll go ahead, mark these holes, fill these holes, drill these holes. There we go, in that order. Well, I definitely didn't get as much done as I'd hoped to get done. I still have water accumulating in this thing. There's random spots that have water, so I've got fans blowing in it tonight. Hopefully dry that stuff out. So with getting this foam out, my go-to tool has been a wood chisel, and I wish I had a bigger one. It would have been way cooler to have like 1 inch wide, or maybe even 1.5 inches, or a variety, so I could do a couple different things. But this has been my go-to. It's strong enough. Get in there, and then instead of prying, if you can pry, but twisting actually seems to be the ticket. My handle's now loose because I've been twisting it so much and aggressively, but this has been my go-to tool. And then when I can't get it off easy, I grabbed a saw blade, a little sketchy saw blade thing, threw some duct tape on the end so I could cut the foam by hand, so that way I could feel if I was hitting stuff, because I knew there was pipes in there that I really didn't want to hit and destroy because I don't need to make more work. But a nice aggressive saw blade, and I was able to cut it into squares in small chunks, and then use this random piece of aluminum that I found to actually as a pry bar, and it would go down really far and I could pry on it and get most of that foam out. The dry foam definitely breaks out way nicer than the wet foam. The wet foam just squishes, and the dry foam will actually fracture and break off. But it's not all dry, so we can't make it all easy. The last thing is a nice, real aggressive pad to get the last little bit off. There's still gonna be some chunks left on from doing the chisel, but this pad was doing a very, very good job for what it is on getting stuff off. So good luck to you guys if you're doing this. Take the time, make sure you get it all out, because you don't want to come back and do it again. So I'm going to take the time today, set it up, get it as dry as I possibly can, because I don't want to put this together and still have water in there and cause mold and more problems and rusting. It's just not going to be worth it. So we're going to get the fans in. We're going to get it as dry as I can. I'd really love to do some more work on this tonight, but I just don't want to have that water in there. So I'm going to call it a night. I hope you guys enjoy your day. I'm going to enjoy the rest of mine. Hopefully this thing will be nice and dry by the morning, and we can actually get to sealing some of this stuff up. I know I've got the holes kind of filled up, but I want to reinforce the sidewalls before I put more fiberglass on it to hopefully give me even more structural rigidity, especially on the back. But in order to do that, right in the crevices is where all that water's sitting, so I gotta get the water out. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here. You enjoy the rest of your day. If you're doing this, again, good luck. Take your time. Make sure to get it all. You got it. You can do hard things. But I'm gonna get out of here. You enjoy your day. I'm going to enjoy the rest of mine. I'm going to go take a nice nap because now it's really, really late. It's really late. Take it easy, everyone. If you like what we're doing here, don't forget to subscribe. Leave a big thumbs up. It helps the channel out a ton. If you're doing this on your ski, what are some tips and tricks that you can give people down below? Because I know there's got to be someone out there that's got a better plan of attack on this. than I do. It might be something simple. It might be a chemical that actually eats away at the foam, but that stuff is very resilient. Leave that comment. Help other people out. That's what we're here for. Just help people out. So, okay, I'm going to get out of here. Peace. Enjoy the rest of your day. Mark these holes. Fill these holes. Drill these holes.